It was early September of 2022 in the village of Ndire in Maragua County, Kenya, and farmer David Njoroge was preparing supper after a long day of hard work. It seemed like an ordinary evening as the normally loud and busy streets finally settled into the quiet of the night. But this peaceful ambiance suddenly shattered when David heard a loud commotion outside his house. As he rushed out the door to investigate, little did he know that a large and highly agitated hippo was lurking just around the corner. This is the horrific true story of one of Kenya's most brutal recent hippo attacks. On September 12, 2022, 50-year-old Kenyan farmer David Njoroge had just arrived home after a long, hard day of laborious work. It was about 7 p.m., and typically David would around this time prepare dinner for him and his wife, and this day seemed no different. Just when David finished cooking, he abruptly heard an array of shouting and screaming outside his home. I had just gotten home from a long day of work and was ready to have dinner when suddenly I heard a loud noise coming from behind my house. I ran outside to find out what the commotion was. Initially, I thought the villagers had cornered a thief, but to my surprise, it was a hippopotamus, and as I saw it charging at me, I frantically climbed up a tree. But because I was in such a state of immense panic, I lost my balance and fell to the ground, which is when the hippo bit into my right shoulder and pulled a large chunk of flesh from it. I felt weak. I felt way too weak and in too much pain at that point, so I decided to play dead. And this bought me some time, I guess, as just moments later, the other villagers rushed towards me and managed to fend the hippo off. Where did this hippo come from? It came from a place called Kazuki Dam, also known as Kibiko Dam. My only request is to try to get rid of these hippos so that people can farm and live peacefully. Last night when the hippo came, I watched as the hippo charged my husband and bit into his arm. We then rushed him to the hospital. We both request that the government helps us with the hospital bills, as he is the main breadwinner in our home, and of course he won't be able to work because he has to recover from this injury. We also hope for these hippos to be caught and locked up, and for the government to close down these dams so villagers can be free from this constant lingering threat and finally live in peace. Although hippos kill more humans than any mammal in the world, it's important to note that most of these attacks go undocumented. In fact, I've only been able to find limited information on a handful of cases such as this one, and the reason for this is mainly because most of these attacks take place in rural regions of Africa, where the vast majority of them go unreported or are very limitedly covered. Even a basic Google search only brings back just 2 popular cases that have already been covered on the channel, and this is quite surprising given how many attacks are said to happen every year. Having said this, I was able to gather some interview clips from various villagers in Kenya who live and work in the surrounding villages where this attack took place, and many people claim that hippos have and continue to terrorize their villages.
And this is not all. They say the dangerous animal has been a threat to school-going children and the residents who go to work early in the morning.
Hata watoto wanaopitia hapa asubuhi sana wakienda kwa shule, hata kama kuna hippo ziko huku na hippo kama hiyo inaweza tokea. Kukiwa kumefensiwa kidogo, watawa na wakati mwema wa kupitia, watakuwa na security mzuri.
Given how hard life is for these villagers, especially from a financial standpoint, the fact that hippos are known to wreak havoc in more ways than one, such as destroying massive amounts of these farmers' crops, has been devastating to a people who are already struggling to get by.
The farmers looking on as they count their losses. The hippo was here, leaving a trail of destruction. The residents of Katibanga village in Murang'a County woke up to this, but this is not the first time. For 3 months now, they have had to deal with the invasion of their farms, and as a result, the damaged food crops.
And of course, not only are crops affected, but many people as well are attacked and even killed by these highly territorial animals. Here's another example in the Katibanga Dam, where 4 people around the time of the making of this footage that you see here had been fatally attacked by hippos.
Residents gathered at the Katibanga Dam in Maragua after receiving news that the dam had claimed yet another life. The 60-year-old man is believed to have gone fishing when he slipped and fell while trying to secure his fishing rod. Residents are now demanding that the Murang'a County government fences the dam as it poses a great danger to the residents.
Although building a fence to protect children from hippos may seem like a small ask for a government, especially one that boasts East Africa's largest and most developed economy, Survey numbers as of 2023 to 2024 indicate that despite this promising stat, a staggering 16.1% of its population still lives below the international poverty line. The reasons for this are a combination of government corruption, economic inequality, and of course, widespread health problems. Factors which in fact plague many parts of the entire continent, and not just Kenya. It's not just the children and people of Maragua that are concerned, as many villagers in East Africa in general consider their surrounding rivers and lakes as lifelines, using them for daily activities such as bathing, fishing, and laundry. The sad part is, even those who are reluctant to go to the river are often forced to have to put their fears aside, and ironically risk their lives just to be able to survive. Not to mention, the 2019 pandemic saw the number of fishermen in Kenya, for instance, which were in the hundreds, increase to thousands due to the global economic crisis, which had even more of a detrimental effect to a large and already struggling population. And with Kenya being the fourth largest flower exporter in the world, thousands of flower workers around Lake Naivasha, for instance, famous for its high population of flamingos and hippos, lost their jobs when Europeans stopped buying them. This forced many to turn to fishing the lake for sustenance, thus leading to about 40 reported attacks at Lake Naivasha in 2020 alone, 14 of which were fatal. And remember, the actual number of attacks is likely much higher, especially when considering the trickle-down effect that the struggling economy had on the surrounding towns and villages. One can only imagine the trauma of witnessing someone being attacked, or even hearing accounts of it, as these people very often do. A bitter reality that they're forced to accept in order to put food on the table. These are the main reasons why hippos, and of course crocodiles too, are in many regions of Africa a very real and practically unavoidable threat for a people whose government, for the most part, continues to fail them in aspects as basic as safety. If you found this story interesting, then I will leave a couple of similar ones at the end screen of this video for you, where I detail several notorious crocodile attacks that, like the hippo attacks discussed in this episode, continue to or have in the past wreaked havoc in African villages.